Hello. Welcome back to the Miscellaneous channel where we do miscellaneous things. I'm Zeleny. I typically cover TV, pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things on this channel, so subscribe if that's your vibe. Is it gonna work? Yeah. Okay. So I'm sorry this is a last minute live stream. I wasn't sure if I was gonna make it here. The end of August, I just was really busy. I got a little burnt out, and I wasn't sure when I was gonna talk about the end of Love is Blind UK season 2. So today is the night, and a lot happened. I considered not even live streaming or talking about the end of the season just because I was a little burnt out the last couple weeks, but a lot happened in the finale and then in the reunion. There were some high highs, there were some low lows, and so I didn't want to leave this series unfinished because I thought like maybe if, I don't know, all my predictions were correct and there was just not much to discuss, there wouldn't be a need to do a live stream or follow up. But I just feel like that reunion after the finale, I was kind of like, I don't think it's necessary to comment. A lot of my predictions came true. A lot of like the editing kind of showed us what the outcomes were going to be. But once the reunion rolled around, it really changed things because the outcomes really changed when we got to reunion time. So I think that reunion especially is what I want to unpack in this live, in this video. But I'm sorry I didn't give the heads up about the live stream. I wasn't sure if it's going to happen. It was just a long weekend in the US. We had Monday off. Monday's a holiday. And so I caught up on the reunion a little late. But yeah, a lot went down. So I just wanted to have a place on my channel where I wrapped up my thoughts on UK season 2. I really liked the reunion, honestly. I think there was a lot of good stuff that I wish the US would take some notes on. I think I like the hosts of UK better. I feel like they ask more pointed follow-up questions. I don't know, I feel like no one's ever satisfied with reunions these days, with reunion hosts. I feel like it's a thing in reality TV. And I feel like Andy Cohen kind of has the monopoly on reunions, but he's also like the best one at asking like the messy questions that the audience really wants. So I don't know, the bar is kind of low for reunion hosting, but I thought they did a good job. And I think also in this reunion, what was cool is that like they didn't spend a ton of time showing us montages of the season. And it's something that's very common in reunions to show every segment they're going to talk about. They show kind of a montage from the season that's like a recap to remind us, the audience, of what went down, and then they're going to talk about it. That's like very standard, but I don't think they were doing it that much aside from a few clips, like when Sophie and Javin were flirting at the bar. They showed that clip to ask Katisha, what was your reaction to watching this clip? I feel like the clips they chose to spend time on were very specific and more like necessary, rather than showing these long montages of people's whole romance stories, because I don't know, I just feel like so much time is wasted on these reunions. Like, sorry, my mom's calling. So much time is wasted just like on these long montages showing us the whole love story, and I just feel like it's not, I don't know, maybe for Bravo and stuff it's more necessary because the season spans like 5 months, week to week. It's kind of hard maybe to remember if you're watching it live. But for Netflix, it's like batches of episodes. We kind of binge them most of the time. And for me, every time, I mean, I also like recap the show on YouTube, so I take notes and stuff, and I pay a little more attention. So maybe for me, the recaps just really aren't necessary. But I feel like it left a lot more time in this reunion to talk about stuff instead of just like wasting time on a bunch of montages, and then you just have like a little bit of time to dedicate to the actual discussion of things. So I thought that was really well done. I liked the intro for UK. They all went into like a photo booth. I really liked like seeing something from the season specifically get tied into the reunion in a funny way, because the photo booth gate was huge this season. And I feel like it'd be cute if every season they did some intro that makes sense for the season. I just don't think every season has something easy to replicate like that, or just that fits in well, because the photo booth thing is like, I don't know, it just worked for, I'm going in this photo booth and I'm going to say my truth, and that's how they open the reunion. But I thought that was really cute, and I like when they do stuff specific to the season. I wrote down, they did like this quote in the intro that's like, everyone has only seen a snapshot of this. Like, they were doing these like little cute puns about photo booths and like taking a picture and tying it back. It was a really cute intro. And then we also got the cast of season 1 UK. We got some updates on them through the reunion. Not too much, which I liked. I feel like in the US sometimes we get caught up in the promotions of Perfect Match and stuff, which they did promote Perfect Match because Freddie was there and they mentioned he was on the season. But he said he was single, so I feel like that made me be like, well, I don't need to watch Perfect Match then. If Freddie just told me he's single, it didn't really work out. But they kind of roasted him for it, and I like that. I like that British dry sense of humor. I feel like it's a little more, I don't know, like funny than I feel like they have more fun with each other in a way. We saw Jasmine and Bobby. They are pregnant. Jasmine was very pregnant. That was cute to see. And Nicole and Benaya were there, and they have traveled everywhere. Those two were our only successful couples last season. So it's good to see they're still doing well, because this season surprisingly just had no success stories aside from one, and that was kind of like sad, because it seemed like it had a lot of potential. Like, a lot of the couples seemed like they had really good potential. Like, there was only really one messy couple, Katisha and Javin, and everyone else was like pretty solid and could maybe work out. Billy and Ashley got really shaky at the end, but I did not expect this outcome at the reunion. Let me see. Yeah, okay, those are my general reunion thoughts. Now I want to talk about each couple and talk just about their outcome and then what their updates were at the reunion. I'm gonna be going in the same order I've been going in, starting with Billy and Ashley. I'm gonna switch to this. Okay. They're there in case. Should I move them up a little bit? This picture is kind of far away. But it just helps like orient in case anyone jumps in or anything. Okay, Billy and Ashley, very tragic. I mean, I was gagged by their wedding episode. They were the only couple that I did not predict correctly. And they said yes at the altar. That was gaggy. I was not expecting that. He was very shaky. Like, at the bachelor party, he was like, I don't know, I'm leaning towards no. Like, he kept telling everyone, even her, that he was like still undecided and questioning it, and like, he seemed very unsure, to the point where close to the wedding, I was like, is the editing like faking us out at this point? Because what the hell, like, they they keep showing him say he wants to say no, and I'm like, normally they never show us what they're gonna, like, they never show how someone's leaning. So they were showing it so much that I was like, maybe he will say yes, but I was still surprised when it actually happened. And then I was not surprised when we got the update at the reunion that they are no longer together. So that was not surprising. He just seems so shaky. And I don't know. And it's weird that this happened again. And I was thinking this season at the beginning, I was like, UK season 1, everyone was behaving so well, like through all the episodes, and then at the very end, at the weddings, at the reunion, everything went to shit, and I was so confused. Like, it was very much whiplash, and I was worried season 2 was going down the same path, and it did end up going down that path but I will say it was a lot less boring than season 1 to me. And I know some people are into just like the more wholesome romance side. I'm more into like seeing some trashiness in the reality TV I watch. But at least season 2 was not a snooze fest to me. But sorry, I'll put the chat up here so y'all can chime in. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, that like the ending of the season was whiplash again for season 2, even though the episodes leading up to it at least gave me a lot of interesting things to think about and talk about, and y'all to talk about in the comments and stuff. So I wasn't bored by the episodes, but at the very end, it still happened where like these UK people, they just like seemed so wholesome and nice and chill, and then at the reunion, it's like everyone's an asshole all of a sudden and getting exposed, and I'm just like, where was this the whole season? At least we had Katisha and Javin, as toxic as they were to watch and frustrating they were to watch, they provided a lot of or some entertaining TV that made the season more interesting because it's like an obvious toxic situation, but they were kind of oblivious to it in the moment, so that's like kind of interesting to watch as an audience. But then at the end, Billy, Cal, like these guys ended up exposed. Even Patrick, we'll get to him, but they were just, after cameras went down, they're just a different person. And it's like, so apparently what happened, according to Ashley, is that her and Billy went into date mode, not marriage mode, after cameras went down. And he says his side was that he was struggling with translating the relationship into the real world. And they disagreed on kind of how things went down. She feels like they didn't struggle with, or like that the relationship did feel real afterwards. They met more family. They traveled together. He got some of the perks of her cabin crew position. And they kind of had ironed out the job stuff. Or, I mean, he said yes at the altar, so it's like, presumably he can work with it. But then apparently her family noticed that he was kind of cold and distant at Christmas or during the holidays. And right after the new year, he broke up with her. And the weirdest thing was that it was like the timeline is significant because Cal and Srover had a very similar story and a very similar breakup, and that was super weird. So I'll get to that when I talked about Cal and Srover, but they had very parallel storylines where, like, at the new year, the man, Billy and Cal, they ended their relationships. And it was right after a boys' trip they had gone on together. And they had very similar reasonings that they lost a spark and yada yada. Like, they had the same script. Um, it's super weird. And I mean, for Billy, I was not surprised. I was just surprised he said yes at the altar. And Ashley kept asking at the reunion. She was coming in fiery. Srover was too, rightfully so. And Ashley was like upset that he said yes at all. And that she wished he had said no at the altar, obviously, if he was going to just pull this shit. And like Callie said in the chat, for someone who didn't want to get divorced again, he sure got married willy-nilly. And that's so true. And he was saying he was a hopeless romantic and all this crap. And I don't believe them. I've been burned too many times. Like, even this season, every season, I try to give the men the benefit of the doubt, and then I get burned every single finale reunion. Almost. I mean, and at this point, I don't want y'all questioning if I doubt a man on Love is Blind, because we just have had too many that just move so shady or whatever. And so Billy said, he said it wasn't about the food thing, that they resolved that. He said maybe it was still the job stuff. I don't remember if it was still the job stuff. They were long distance also, which is something in the UK that's a little different than the US. And I think it's leading to more problems for these marriages. And it's just that this Love is Blind UK spans the entire country. And so a lot of the couples seem to be dealing with long distance after cameras go down. And it seems like a lot of their issues stem from that. And they don't go right into like moving in together, living together, which is more like standard married life. And in the US, it's more city specific, sometimes regional, but I think the area geographically is a lot closer, and I think that helps the couples at least not have that barrier as a big factor. But yeah, they were living in different places, and she kind of defends her job stuff because I feel like on the show they showed him like complaining so much about her job, and she seemed a little caught off guard by that, and that his job also has difficult aspects, like he could get deployed or something, things like that, military stuff, and that she wasn't complaining. So she stuck up a lot more for her job, which I was happy to see, because I felt weird when she was just like, I'll just change my job for you, stranger I just met yesterday, like in the pods and stuff. When she, she had a whole career and she liked it and everything. So she feels he never compromised. He feels she never compromised. They both feel like each other didn't compromise on anything. And yeah, he ended it at the beginning of January. And yeah, to me it's very strange to be like, I mean, we've seen it a lot, I guess. It's a little strange to be a divorced person on this show, because it is like such a fast track to marriage that I would think a divorced person would be like, I don't know, a little more tentative towards marriage. But I don't know. He went for it and he said yes, which is crazy. Like, I thought it would just end at a no. It'd be, a sad altar moment. She would cry. It's okay. We get past it. But no, he friggin' kept it going, dragged it on. And yeah, we saw they had issues before even the wedding. So I don't think we'll get a straight story out of them. Same with Cal. Even though Cal was a little more surprising based on the edit. And like just they didn't have as many fights the way they did. But yeah, the whole bro thing was great. Let me just talk about Srover and Cal because they had like kind of the same story. I'm gonna move my notes around. But yeah, they went on this boys trip, which is crazy. I'd never heard of this happening, and I just can't believe they're denying it. That they're they're saying it was just a coincidence that they went on a boys trip and came back and both broke up with their wives. Like, oh, just happy coincidence, I guess. Or unfortunate coincidence. But yeah, so Rover and Cal, they seemed a lot more sure. I predicted they'd say yes at the altar. They did. They had the ripping up moment. That was just like a fun thing. Cal did, whatever. And they even at the reunion had a whole montage of their time together the way successful couples do. Usually, like, they went on a honeymoon to Morocco, I think. And they had holidays together and everything, but same exact timeline as Billy. Oh, sorry. Same exact timeline as Billy. Cal broke up with Srover. It was like 2 days apart or something officially. I think the boys were alleging it was 2 weeks apart. What I believe the girls at this point. I mean, like, these guys were shady. But anyway, so at the reunion, Srover and Cal are no longer together. And yeah, same story. He said there was no spark. They emphasized with them the no spark thing a lot more than Billy and Ashley because I don't know what their spark was. But yeah, Cal said he lost the spark and he broke up with her very cold, after New Year's. And he claims that they fell out over intimacy issues in the honeymoon, and it was kind of unclear if it was physical because then he was like it was emotional intimacy or like PDA stuff like holding hands and that type of thing. It was kind of vague, and I don't know. And she insists she had shown him her love language in the time they lived together. Like nothing changed with how she was acting. But suddenly he had a problem with it. And that's why she's also confused. Why would he say yes at the altar if he didn't feel a spark or their intimacy love languages weren't compatible? Whatever. But Srover was like completely blindsided. And I think that came across a lot. And she said it a lot in the reunion. She just did not expect this. He was very integrated with her family. They spent holidays together, integrated with friends and everything. So it was just shocking. They also had kind of a distance issue. I think he had said he was willing to move, and then when it came time, he wasn't. Or I think she said, and I forget, because they also did like a podcast, but it was kind of an official podcast, so it was very fluffy. There wasn't like any hard-hitting tea, honestly, or questions asked on that podcast. But she mentioned that he, in the pods and stuff, had promised like, oh, we'll try living in both places and we'll see which one we like better and stuff. But then once the cameras went down, he was staying in his town and she was back in London, and he wasn't like budging or willing to consider other places to live. So I feel like the distance was also an issue. But yeah, he very coldly broke up with her, which is, that one broke my heart because, well, first of all, I was rooting for them at a certain point after the second batch of episodes. They were going strong, and they seemed good, and Srover is like a real life freaking Disney princess. I wanted her, and like I thought there was some charm to him, um, like meeting the mom and being so nervous about it, and then her mom approving. Like, it was such a journey. It was a cute story. Um, but the fairy tale was not real life, and it ended. And he apologized to her mom at the reunion directly. Well, yeah, he did. He did apologize, but then her mom was trying to explain how heartbreaking it was and how blindsided Srover was and everyone was. Um, and so then he starts like arguing with the mom, and it's just like, shut up, just let her mom talk. Um, because, you mess this up. Like, just take it. Just take it. And the mom was being very classy, very respectful. I mean, she's a very posh lady, as the British call it. I knew it as soon as I saw her fancy hat at the wedding. She's a fancy lady. So her mom was being very, like, chill at the reunion. She wasn't, like, yelling at him or being rude or anything. But she was just saying, like, it was heartbreaking that this happened, and she did not see it coming, and, we took you in and stuff. She was just very respectful about, like, recounting the story, how it happened. But Cal was trying to argue back, like, that's not how it happened. Or he was like, you don't usually consult for a breakup. Like, you don't consult the other person. So he's saying basically, like, a blind side in a breakup is inevitable, which is not, I think what Srover and her mom are trying to communicate is that, like, marriage is a lot more serious than just, like, a casual, girlfriend you've had for a couple weeks that you just, like, are like, it's not working, bye. Like, if you're in a marriage and you're serious about it, you ideally would tell your partner, hey, I'm having these thoughts, I'm not feeling it, or something. Can it be fixed? I don't know. There's a million ways to go about it. But in this case, I think Srover just wanted any indication that there was issues, and she had none. And he just completely surprised her with this information and just left. And so to me, it's also just like Billy. It shows he was treating this as just like a short-term relationship, which is kind of what it was based on actual literal timelines. But what these men aren't understanding is that they got married. Stupidly, whatever, but that's the show. But they said yes at the altar and they got married. And so, like, even if this is a short-term relationship you've been in, you shouldn't treat it as such if you got fucking married. But whatever. So Cal and Billy have both been very defensive. I do think they're getting a lot of hate, and, who cares? Who cares enough to send hate? I know I don't. Please don't send hate to people. Like, who cares? But, yeah, they're being very defensive and saying, that's not how it happened or whatever. I believe the women. I do think they helped each other kind of come up with a script. I think they were treating it like a 3-month relationship, which is what it was, but shouldn't have been treated as such. And they were both just kind of over it. And it's sad for Cal. I mean, he did have red flags. Billy had way more red flags, like controlling the food and the job stuff. Like, he really hated her job. It was just more overt. And Cal had his red flags. I was very concerned when his brother kept saying, like, he usually tries to or dates somebody but then isn't willing to, like, compromise or change his lifestyle or anything, and then kind of abandons it. And they did show us that in the edit quite a few times. Also, like, around the wedding bachelor parties, like, leading up. So I was thinking, like, okay, well, if they fail, it'll be because of that. But I assumed it would be a no at the altar. Same with Billy. Like, if it wasn't going to work out. But both of these men just said yes, willy dilly, and that it didn't work out anyway. But yeah, the brother had him clocked from the beginning that he is not good in long-term relationships, or is just not, like, doesn't have the commitment in him. And Cal talks about it like, yeah, I learned about myself that I can't handle a serious commitment and can't be in a long-term relationship. Basically kind of using Srover as like a lesson that he learned, or using this experiment as like a learning lesson, which good for him and all, but it's a lot of collateral damage for learning you can't commit. um, and his brother was saying that, like, he was seeing his brothers, like him and the other brother, get married and start families and stuff, and that he just kind of wanted probably their lifestyles, wanted to emulate what they were doing without actually wanting that for himself. And yeah, it's okay not to be good at commitment and just stay single and whatever. But I just hate that he had to use Srover, a wonderful person. And he says it like, she was the perfect person for me and she was great in every way, and it didn't work out. So that taught him, like, he's just like forever single, or that he should be forever single. It's kind of, it's weird, and I feel bad for Srover. I feel bad for her mom. I think the only good thing about it is, like, it was nice to see her mom have her back. Like, originally when she approved of Cal too, like, that was a good journey for them to go on either way, of like her mom just trusting her daughter, or just like letting her make her own mistakes if she believes it was, because it was a mistake in the end, I guess. But it was good for Srover to have that moment of like saying, "Mom, just trust me and just support me, whatever." And her mom actually doing that. So that's all we got. That's all we got on, like, benefits from Srover. I mean, she's so sweet, so beautiful. I liked her a lot. She had a really sweet personality. I wish we saw more of her, really. Like, she didn't get a lot of screen time. When I was doing my, like, I have to mark my footage that I use on videos, and I color code it, so I get to see. It's a really easy way to see how much screen time people have. And there were whole episodes where there was so little, I think I had color coded them as orange. There was so little orange in those episodes. We didn't get to see them too much, aside from montages. But yeah, Cal had me fooled. I think had a lot of us fooled. There were the red flags, but, like, everyone has red flags. Like, Kieran and Megan are a successful couple of the season. Sorry. They had things that could be read as red flags too, because honestly, very similar to Billy, Megan hated that he was a gaming entrepreneur, and we saw a lot more of that footage. It was like deleted scenes, but we saw more of that footage at the reunion, and it was like, she almost hated gaming as much as Billy hated cabin crew. But they didn't show us because the editors knew they were successful. So maybe that's showing too much conflict for a successful couple. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of like, if I were predicting them, I'd be like, I don't know if she can get over that. And also, when we met his friends were like, we can't approve of this, we can't support this, and they weren't giving their blessing. And so I think that could have been interpreted as a red flag too. We didn't get a lot of information as to, or it wasn't because of something Kieran did or anything, but the friends were just like, we don't believe in this, even though they had nothing against Megan. So I don't know. Every couple has things that can be read as red flags, and I feel like for Cal and Srover, they were pretty small. And I feel like for Cal and Srover, they were pretty small. And I feel like for Cal and Srover, they were pretty small. And I feel like for Cal and Srover, they were pretty small. And I feel like for Cal and Srover, they were pretty small. And I feel like for Cal and Srover, they were pretty small. And I feel like for Cal and Srover, they were pretty small. And I feel like for Cal and Srover, they were pretty small. And I feel like for Cal and Srover, they were pretty small. And I feel like for Cal and Srover, they were pretty small. And I feel like for Cal and Srover, they were pretty small. And I feel like for Cal and Srover, they were pretty small. And I feel like for Cal and Srover, they were pretty small. And I feel like for Cal and Srover, they were pretty small. And I feel like for Cal and Srover, they were pretty small. And I feel like for Cal and Srover, they were pretty small. And I feel like for Cal and Srover, they were pretty and that's why I was a little more surprised by them. And I think the bros on this boys trip, something went down, and they were just both over it, and I don't know. That was sad. That was sad because they seemed really solid. But yeah, so Kieran and Megan, our last and only hope, they made it against all odds. Um, they're the last one standing, but they were great. They had an amazing edit. Um, I loved them. They're my little Sims, my little Love is Blind mobile game avatars. They're just very quintessential Love is Blind. But they were so cute. He had the UK version of Garrett's glow up going on at the reunion. They commented on that. It better not make the top 5 moments though. Love is Blind reunion or Love is Blind seasons. But he looked very cool. It's different from this picture. Sorry, I don't have the reunion photos, but he had like his hair was like down and he had like an earring and it was very fashion. But yeah, they were super. Also, oh my god, and she had never been in love before. That's another thing that like if they hadn't worked out, I'd be like, maybe that was a red flag. Like, I don't know. Every couple has things that could be red flags, but they were great. They had their whole montage of their year together. They're living together, and I think that's very important. And the ones that are in it for reals move in together pretty quick. And they tried like commuting and stuff, and they were like, no way, this isn't it. And yeah, he's just really sweet. He had a moment of like, when they got introduced, like, let's appreciate my wife's hotness, and then they appreciate his glow up. He's very like a hype man to her. And yeah, we got a little insight of her hating gamers, which was very interesting. We saw her be tentative in the season, but I didn't realize she hated. Like, she, just like Billy called out, like, I don't want to be with a cabin crew person. She was like, I don't want to be with a gamer. But he's a lot more of a businessman, and apparently he, like, made an esports team or something. I saw something on Reddit about, like, he made a gaming thing that made a lot of money at a young age. So, it's very different to be, like, you know, a guy who's just, like, gaming all day and has no job or no ambitions or whatever it is. It's like it's very much a stereotype of gaming, and he is more like in the business of gaming. And she sees the difference now. But I get it. I know people like this that don't understand, the nuance and the spectrum of games, and what gaming is. So I don't fault her too much. I think she's like a cool girl that has never been anything close to nerdy, and I don't fault her for that. she's a cool dancer chick. Like, she's not gonna get it, and that's fine. But now she probably appreciates how much money he makes. I'm assuming he makes pretty good money. But I love them. They're a great success story. I hope they stay together, and they're great. I think they mentioned they were going to have another, like, wedding ceremony, vow renewal type thing, which makes sense. The Love is Blind weddings are so not it. Like, they're so basic and, like, kind of, like, stock, I don't know, generic a lot of the time. And I don't know. I imagine most people that actually get married want to do their own thing where they're not, like, they don't have to follow all these rules and, like, can dance to the music they want and can invite whoever. So that's their plan. And that shows me they're pretty solid. Okay. Who's next? I guess, who did I have next? Patrick and Anu. Just a quick update on them. He was not there at the reunion. Spleen guy. The spleen told him not to show up. And I imagine it has a lot to do with the allegations and stuff that came out on TikTok by, Storytime with Ricky and whoever else that reports on Love is Blind stuff. But apparently, yeah, he had a baby on the way when he went into the pods, and he sent in a statement to the reunion, a very, curated PR statement, talking about that he was single when he went into the pods. Makes that very clear. But he did acknowledge the baby in the statement, and that he's excited for this next chapter of fatherhood. So that's interesting. He claimed, he takes ownership that this was real, which I wasn't expecting, honestly, in the statement. But also, he didn't tell anybody in the pods, and that was the issue, and I think he was scared to probably get grilled on that. I would imagine. So he didn't show his face. And Anu was there, and it's interesting how different the reaction to Anu was in the official channels versus the audience. I feel like the audience was really mad at her for the "you're a liar" moment. I didn't mind it. I thought it was fun drama, but the host recreated the moment, and they were singing that "you're a liar." So I think the host took it more the way I did, where it was fun and lighthearted, even though Anu was very heated in that moment. But whatever, Patrick wasn't even there, so it's just interesting. The host and the podcast, I think, host too, they're all kind of living for that moment. I think they like that it's a fun moment, a reality TV moment for the teaser, and it's just a little fun thing for the show. That, again, like I said, it didn't have stakes, so I wasn't mad at it. Okay, next, Katisha and Javin. Honestly, for how much they were part of the season, they were most of it, they did not get that much time at the reunion, or there wasn't much hashed out. I don't know. Well, I feel like for Katisha, she was struggling a bit in the reunion. She was a little kind of emotional, seemed kind of flustered. So I feel like they didn't really go in on her. She was already kind of on edge. And I do think people are harping too much on her not picking Demela over Javin. The switch up was crazy, but I feel like we moved on, we talked about it, and at the reunion again, they're why would you pick Javin over Demela? Demela's such a nice guy. And it's I'm over it at this point. I don't really care. She picked who she picked. She likes this energy that wasn't, as, I don't know, nurturing or sensitive or caring the way Demela was. And she felt the spark with this guy, whatever. But beyond that, we didn't get too much on her and her actions afterwards. I don't think there was much. I think, especially because we do get some about Javin and about Sophie and the flirting and the photo booth thing. So the heat is definitely more on him, but he's kind of denying everything. So I don't know what we could have gotten more out of Katisha in that reunion and in the state she was in. But yeah, so we have Sophie there to clarify what happened at the night out off camera. And she says that they were arguing in the photo booth. And I saw a lot of people online be confused that they didn't address what they were arguing about in the photo booth. But I think they did. I think she said it was because she left the show prematurely, and he was shading her for that decision or being like, you're not the type of person who would do that. Why would you leave the show early? Like saying she's a coward or something. That's what I understood the argument was about. And they clarified that the photo booth did not have a curtain. They showed a photo of the photo booth, and there was no curtain. And for some reason, the photo booth said gay on it, which I was like, can we address that? Because why does the photo shoot just say, it just has like gay on the side. Maybe it's a gay club that they were at, but it was just funny. I was like, please tell me why. Does it say something else, like gay something, gay photo, gay something? I don't know. But the photo was funny. Sorry, I don't have it. I was not very prepared. Tate's Take. Thank you so much. Oh my God, thank you so much for the super chat. I think is what this is called. I've never had one before. Passing by to show some love. Keep up the good content. Oh my God, thank you. Yeah, so the photo booth didn't have a curtain. I don't think it matters. That night was off camera, and we saw Javin flirt with 3 women on camera in 4K. So it's like that same night, probably more alcohol in him later into the night. What can we assume pretty for certain what he was doing? Flirting with these same 3 women. You know, like we saw it in 4K on camera already. So like the extra stuff was not any like there wasn't anything new. Like the photo booth thing, sure, like they could have been making out in there or something, but we don't know. Or like, I don't think it mattered. I think Megan was trying to tell her like, he is flirting with other women, and I saw it with my eyes. And I think Katisha didn't see that at the mixer beforehand. And she sees the clip and it's like, yeah, I was very hurt seeing him flirting with Sophie. So like the off-camera stuff didn't matter that much. The curtain stuff, yeah, it was fun to have a photo of the gay photo booth, sure. And it's interesting, like there wasn't a curtain, so Javin's really latching onto that, being like, I wasn't lying, see, there was no curtain. And we were arguing. It's like, I don't care. He was flirting with other women while engaged. And also wasn't even in love, so this relationship was just such a mess and a joke. And I'm sorry to Katisha, but we all could see it. And Sophie was denying that she was being flirty. And I was like, girl, like she was saying, we were being joking. Yes, it looks like flirting, but it was joking. And it's like, girl, if it looks like flirting, if it talks like flirting, it's flirting. Like, she was being very defensive about it as well, which I wasn't expecting. Like, she says, like, sorry, Katisha, but also it was a joke. We were just having banter, and it wasn't flirting. And it's just like, flirting is flirting, girl. You're talking about your vagina. Like, we can see. So yeah, Sophie wasn't giving the most girl energy there. And Katisha calls her out and it's like, you were being flirty, bitch, basically. But she was pretty nice with the call out, but then she's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go off like that. And I'm like, girl, it's okay, you can go off like that. It's a reunion. Go for it. What would they even have to argue about is my question. I know, Cambria. There was no... And I believe Sophie and Kieran when they say, like, when he was talking to all these women, it didn't look like he was arguing. They were chatting. And maybe they were jokingly arguing, since they love to joke. But jokingly arguing is flirting most of the time. So, yeah, I don't think... We didn't get much on Javin and Katisha that was like new or surprising. I mean, they broke up before the wedding or anything, so I already kind of talked about that. Their story had ended for me, really. And yes, there was stuff to address about that night and what happened, but I don't think that was the issue with their relationship. And that night was like just one of the ways his behavior was not appropriate for a fiance. And she also did not need to be getting married. She has some work to do and stuff. Like, she seemed like she was just like had kind of a desperate energy to her that didn't feel like, I don't know, it just didn't feel like she was reciprocated. Like the whole thing about like eating together, and she was like accommodating his weird schedule that sounded made up about like he eats at 9 p.m. but goes to bed at 10 p.m. or whatever. And she's like, I'll do whatever. I'll eat at that time. So she was just like over compensating, accommodating. They never had really fun times, we saw. And it was so annoying at the reunion. Javin was saying, that he really enjoyed Katisha and enjoyed his time with her. Like, saying all these nice things that he literally never said when they were together. And she's over here kind of an emotional wreck at the reunion, like, hearing all this for the first time. Like, these nice things that she had wanted to hear the whole time. So, it just felt like empty words at that point. It's, like, easy to say when you're not committed or owe her anything, but it just messes with her emotions. The poor girl. But yeah, that was weird to see him just be like talk so highly of the relationship when we didn't see any of that. I think that's enough of them. And finally, our last couple, Jed and Barda, our most mysterious couple, for sure. I don't know what happened with them, but I did predict they would say no at the altar. I think the teaser kind of showed enough to make that judgment. And yeah, she said no at the altar. He did not have a chance to answer. I think he said he would have said yes. But she had made it seem at the wedding that she wanted to keep dating, which is kind of a rare one. We see occasionally on Love is Blind. I don't think we've ever seen it work. No, we've never seen it work. We've seen it attempted a couple of times maybe, but that someone says no at the altar, but is like, but I want to keep dating and see where it goes. And so she kind of gave that, and he was kind of unclear if he was down or not. Usually the person getting the no is like, fuck no, I'm not going to keep dating you after you humiliated me at the altar. And usually that's why it doesn't work out. Usually both people aren't willing to do it or to try. One of them's usually down for the marriage and about to say yes. So yeah, that happened with them. And at the reunion, we hear that they did attempt to date for a couple of weeks, maybe. That she moved in with him, but they were still butting heads a lot. And she feels she was trying a lot more than him, because in hindsight, she says she feels guilty about the no at the altar. And so she was trying really hard to make it work. But he wasn't trying as hard, and he disagrees. He says he was trying just as hard. And apparently leading up to the wedding, they had some fights. We didn't get too much clarity. We got clarity about one of the fights. It was about that he wanted to pay the bill at a restaurant or something, and then she offered to go 50-50 at the end, like gave her card, and he was really upset about that. Disagreement, whatever, but then they kept having arguments after that. And at the reunion, they do say it wasn't about the paying and that issue, that was resolved. I believe she also said it on her like Instagram story. She did like a little AMA thing and talked a little more about her side of things. But when they were dating after the wedding, I think they had a big disagreement about her wearing her ring, because she was still wearing the ring, which is strange, because they agreed they weren't engaged. This couple is very weird. I don't really know how to interpret them. But she was wearing the ring, and then they went to the gym, and he was like, take your ring off. And then she was like, is it because your ex is here? And he said the ex was there. So he says it was because he didn't want people at his gym to find out, like, stuff about the show, like, spoil contract stuff for Netflix, I think is what he was getting at. And she thought it was because he didn't want his ex to see that he was, like, engaged to somebody or something. And that after this disagreement, she stopped wearing the ring altogether, and he got very cold and distant. What I don't understand is, this story sounds like a long story. It sounded like they tried for a long time, or, whatever. But then she says she moved to Dubai 3 weeks after the wedding. So all of this happened in a small span under 3 weeks. I don't know why when they were telling the story, it sounded like a longer attempt, a longer thing. Like, she moved in with him, all these things. But I guess it only happened in, like, this short span. And that they always had disagreements. She did say on her Instagram story, he was different off camera. And, like, the arguments they were having. But she's also committed to not spilling the tea and the details about it. I've seen a lot of the audience, or, like, some of the audience turn on Barda. And, like, they just think it's all very weird. And I think people are just frustrated about, like, not getting any details. Because she's being very cagey kind of about it. Cambria says, the ring thing was so weird. She made it seem like she deliberately took it off at first, but then it just fell off in the shower. Yeah, she did say something about, like, it just fell off in the shower. Like, it wasn't, like, it was weird. I don't know. I think in hindsight, she's saying, like, she was forcing it out of guilt, I think. And I don't know anything about his end. It's kind of like we didn't get to hear a lot about his end of things. He denies that he changed after the ring thing, or that he wasn't trying. So he just kind of denies all of her allegations here about, I don't know, like him not putting in effort / getting cold and distant when she removed the ring. I don't really know. This couple's not giving much. Maybe that's why we didn't get as much screen time of them. They did get a lot of screen time after the pods. In the pods, they didn't. But then after, they got more. But I don't know. She said she lives in Dubai now. And I don't know what he's up to. He's in Essex, right? Is he kind of like a Jersey Shore guy? Like, Essex is kind of like I feel like it's like the Utah of UK. Like, the blonde, like bottle blonde, self-tan, girlies, heavy makeup. I just know kind of the stereotypes from reality TV, but I don't know if it's like a Jersey Shore vibe over there. Because he kind of gives Jersey Shore vibes, just in his look. But yeah, I don't really know with them. But they said no at the altar, so nothing at the reunion was surprising. Like, it was weird, but it wasn't, like, shocking they weren't together. Compared to, like, the couples that got married and then are getting divorced. Like, that feels more heavy. But for them, they didn't get married, so I was like, they're not gonna work out. Like, people always say, we'll just date after this. Maybe we'll try. And usually it doesn't come to anything. So I was kind of surprised they did actually try, but it wasn't as long as it seemed. So yeah, they were weird. I don't really understand them. And their stories are weird and vague. And I don't know about this stuff about him being different off camera. That's like her social media stuff she's talked about, not at the reunion really. She said she was like protecting him, and doesn't want to get too into it. So that's them. That's the couples. That's the reunion, right? I don't know if we had anything else at the reunion. I covered some of the general stuff at the beginning, like their little intro and like the season 1 cast people updates. We saw Freddie and Demi. They gave some very generic advice to the couples. And good to see them. Yeah, they roasted Freddie for being on too many dating shows, which I love that. I like the UK hosts. They feel pretty grounded. I don't know. They feel, I don't know. They're very like pretty model-y looking people, but they kind of have this dryness, and like they can joke with the contestants, and they were asking like follow-up questions. They weren't like messy at like an Andy Cohen level in any way, but they were, following up and trying to like ask things, at least compared to like other shows I've been watching recently. Like the Secret Lives of Moral Wives reunion was rough with Nick Viall as the host, or Nick and Vanessa always struggle with these reunions, and pressing. I don't know, they just ask about random stuff they care about, or I don't know if it's them or producers, whoever, but it's not the best. So I appreciate the UK hosts at least, and I liked the use of time in this reunion. It was an hour long, no long montages, and no really big fluffy segments that, like sometimes they'll put in like goofy, like that when they did like top 5 Love is Blind moments or goofy stuff like that. Like sometimes it's fun, but when we want things addressed, it's like a little bit of a waste of time sometimes. So I liked their efficient use of time in the UK. As far as the season goes, I enjoyed it a lot more than season 1. I think the people felt more realistic than the US, or like, I don't know, less clout chasey or less like Instagram influencer vibes than we get in the US sometimes. Their problems felt more kind of real, even though a lot of them had big problems. And yet the season had enough topics to talk about that were interesting, and different journeys of the couples compared to season 1. Season 1 I struggled covering. The comments were like, girl, you have no energy. And I was like, I'm sorry, it's a tough season to cover. And the first chunk of these episodes, I was like, oh my god, it's the same thing. It's still slow. I'm struggling. But it picked up. The second batch of episodes had a lot to it, a lot to unpack, and I had fun with it. And then, of course, the finale and reunion then had a lot of interesting things go down. But yeah, let me know your final thoughts on the season, how it ranks. I feel like people that like more of the wholesome and the love story might enjoy UK more, except the happy endings aren't really as much there as maybe even US seasons most of the time. But like, at least the journey of romance felt a little grounded and realistic. And if you don't watch the reunion, then there is a lot of happy endings. I don't know how many people keep up with the reunion. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. And yeah, how it ranks, or if you like the UK franchise or US or your favorite country, because it has a very different vibe from the US, I feel like. The US gets very messy. The drama happens early, I feel like, um, earlier than UK. And UK, they're just a little more proper and a little more, I don't know, toned down in a way. Um, and it leads to a more wholesome show for sure. Like, they also never show, like, sex on the UK one. In the UK, I've talked about it before. It has, like, a complicated history with that on reality TV, so I understand why. The US has, like, a little bit, and then some other countries, they go a little crazy, like Mexico. Um, they really take it there, and that it's not cute because a lot of those people had kids. It was very cringy. So I think there's a balance, and I think the people that like wholesome probably prefer the UK. I think I prefer the US. I mean, I'm from here, so I understand the cultural references and things. Um, but yeah, UK feels less like people trying to be influencers, even if they are. It's so true because in the UK they are still trying to be influencers and trying to get clout, I assume. Um, I think a lot of people uh, going on the show see that as like a goal. Because I like Kieran mentioned it. He was like, I would never expect to actually find love here, even though I came on the experiment. Most people just think it'll be a fun story and maybe I'll get some followers out of it. um, but yeah, the UK for some reason feels less overtly about the followers. Um, but so far, I really liked season 2 better than season 1. I just had more to it, like I said. And I'm really excited for the next US season. It comes out October 1st, I believe, or it starts October 1st, and it takes place in Denver, Colorado. I'm excited for that. I've had a lot of friends move to Denver, so I'm very familiar, and it'll be very granola. I'm excited to see how that translates. It's a more liberal city. We've seen a lot of pretty conservative areas and seasons in US. I think Love is Blind favors those areas because I think you have more percentage of people maybe seeking marriage. I don't know. Or maybe they just like mid-sized towns also in the US version. Whatever it is, but Denver's next. We're coming for you. And they're also casting in my city in Austin. And I'm very excited for whenever that season is. I have no idea what number season it's going to be because they're casting simultaneously in a bunch of cities right now. But once it comes to my city, I've been like waiting for this moment. And I really want someone I know to get on it. I've been trying to like push my single friends to be like, please, I need someone to interview for my channel. I need someone to give me the behind the scenes tea. But no one wants to because they're all, I don't know, rational adults that aren't interested. But I don't know. We'll see if I know anybody. I'm a tad old, honestly, so we'll see if like I feel like it's the people around my age range. I might have like friend of a friend connections to, but if they're younger than me, probably not. Probably not. But yeah, excited for that. So I'm kind of laying low a little bit in September. I don't have any big plans for videos. I have a couple plans, but they're a little random, not super TV related, because I'm gearing up for that October Love is Blind release, which will be fun. But a lot of work. It's always a lot of work. And yeah, I'll have live streams around the finale time and reunion time for that in October. I can't believe it's already the fall. I'm excited. And September, right now, like, shit's moving. Like, TV seasons are starting, and I'm, like, excited. Like, I watched Dancing with the Stars, and I'm excited for the season. It has a really fun cast. The Mormon Wives are going to be there. I'm going to be watching. And also, like, Mormon Wives has another season coming out in November, which I don't know if I'm going to cover. I covered last season, and it was a little rough in the comments. I don't know if I prefer the audience for that. The Love is Blind audience is so much more, I don't know, critical thinky. I don't know how to describe it, but the Mormon Wives fandom, I think it's just so vast. Like, the Mormon Wives fandom is huge, so it was just like kind of less community feeling, or like less, I don't know, the Love is Blind fandom feels more like tight than something as big of a phenomenon. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. My next video might be a little different. It's kind of more talking about like an internet thing and exploring like internet virality. So not TV related, but you'll see if it comes out. It's kind of a more interesting internet analysis moment. But yeah, let me know if there's other shows that would be interesting to cover, talk about, or watch. There's one about virgins, like a reality TV show with Colton Underwood, I think. And I don't know if it's out yet. I think it's out already, but it's made no noise. I was thinking about covering it or watching it and then recapping it if I liked it. But then I didn't hear any buzz about it. So I'm like, usually if I don't hear any buzz, I'm like, is it worth it? I don't know. Someone needs to tell me like, hey, it's good. Watch it. And then I watch it. And then I'm also finally catching up on The Summer I Turned Pretty. Very different realm. It's teen shows. But way back when season 1 came out, I made a video about it. And I was like, I mean, kind of hating on it in the video because I'm old and it's like the current generation's Twilight, and it's very goofy and I don't approve of the shenanigans on it. But I asked in that video for the people in the comments to spoil the books for me because I was going to give up after season 1. I wasn't interested. I was like, I'm not continuing. Tell me what happens. And then people told me in the comments what happens, and I was like, oh my God, what? That's insane. Why would that happen? What? And so cut to, that was like 2021. That was 2021, yes. And then 2023, season 2 comes out, and now 2025, the last season's coming out. And so all that shit that went down that people told me in the comments, it's finally happening on the show. And so I got intrigued again. And so I went back to season 2, watched season 2. Now I'm going to watch season 3, or I'm watching season 3 now and trying to catch up before the finale. So that's just a little extra credit assignment I'm doing. I probably won't make a video about it or anything because I don't know, the kids weren't happy with me picking apart their show. And it's very messy, but I'm having fun with that. So right now it's just like a time of a lot of TV. I'm trying to watch Wednesday because Gaga's in it for 1 minute, allegedly. So I'm catching up on those new episodes. And it's always fun when a new season starts because I measure time in like TV seasons, and like in September it's like everything comes back. It's Dancing with the Stars and Survivor's back, and these big shows start coming, and I'm excited about it. And yeah, so stay tuned. Love is Blind, October 1st. I mean, I won't have a video on October 1st, but hopefully a few days after that. And we're gonna kick off Denver So stay tuned for that. I hope you have a great rest of your week. I'm gonna. Cambria says, "Don't listen to the kids." I feel the same way about The Summer I Turned Pretty. I know, it's such a dumb show. It's such a dumb show. But this is what people were saying about Twilight back in the day, and I was like, "You're crazy. This is romance," and it was unhinged. So, oh my god! And I'm gonna go for sure see Twilight's getting re-released this October. I'm gonna go see that. So I'm a hypocrite because the kids these days have Summer I Turned Pretty. I had Twilight. All unhinged and toxic romances. So yeah, let me know what you're looking forward to in the TV season in the comments, because it's all coming. It's all coming. We're ending the year, and I'm living. So, hope y'all have a great rest of your week. And it's my birthday week, so I'm also excited to take a little break for that and celebrate this week. And yeah, I think that's everything. I'm glad I did this. I was so not sure if I was gonna make it tonight for this live stream because I was just tired and burned out, but I also felt so weird leaving this series unfinished. I didn't want to and a lot happened in the reunion, so I was like, I'm gonna push through, and I'm gonna be busy the next few days, so this was the night I had to do it. So thank you so much for being here, for being in the chat, for being in the comments, and for watching along Love is Blind UK Season 2 with me. And yeah, I will catch you in the next one. Bye.